All right, guys, welcome to the no fun zone. The drafts are over. No, we actually might sneak in a draft or two here before we finish, but it was brought to my attention. I was actually listening to Fantasy Mojo's podcast. He has a cool podcast. He was going over some of the upcoming waivers, and he said there was a waiver run tonight. And as an FFPC grinder, I nodded and I said, "That's right, Darren. There is a waiver run tonight." Which means Pat and I should probably log on and talk through some of our bids. Pat, how we doing?
Doing good. Upgraded the internet today. Literally had the technician leave just like 10 minutes before we jumped on here. So shouldn't have any troubles like we had last time. So that's good.
Were you on the line with your cable company or like, dude, I got a waiver wire show at 9. You got to get over here stat.
I was. Yeah. So we're all good.
Yeah, we're hot off the heels of our very well received $35 quad managed best ball draft with John Daigle and Evan Silva. I mean, what a night!
That was by far the most fun for the dollar of any draft I've ever done.
I had a few people messaging me about it. Of like, Silva was all business at the start, not too happy, and then boy did we turned a corner once we hit the double digit rounds, I think.
Yeah, although arguably he didn't end very happy either.
I would like to see I would like to hear Daigle and Silva's conversation after that draft ended. Silva just like, those fucking idiots, never again. So yes. So Pat, how many leagues are we in? Because I was trying to get my housekeeping here. We have a few group threads going with our quad managed teams. We have our 2 main events. I legitimately don't even know how many teams we need to do waivers for right now.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I was saying before we got on, I think all of the teams are on my account. I guess we should double check to make sure I haven't forgotten about a team that we drafted. But we have both of our main events.
Yep.
And then we have the quad with Hassan and Blair.
Yep.
Ship taking with Davis Maddock.
Yep.
We have robust OG with Sean Siegel and Ben Gretsch. And then we also have the KFFSC main event where it's just the 2 of us and Davis is in that league. And then we have some other leagues, but I believe they're all best balls. So that should take care of it.
So we have 45 minutes until these waivers process. I
don't believe we have a single claim in right now, correct?
No, we don't. We do not. I say we start with the original draft, our first main event draft from July. Let me pull up my screen here. I did do shout out 4 for 4. We got our league sync going so we can pull up and see how these rosters are doing. It has been fun as news has shifted to kind of see how these teams have, improved or what landmines we've had. So this was the team. We got Carson Wentz at quarterback. I think we're probably good here, right? Where we're just going to roll with Carson. We don't need to mess around with any of these.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let me get over here. Let's check out our running backs here. Pete, can we meet the parents, says Josh? No. Well, first of all, they're not my parents. They're my wife's parents, and you will never meet them. I will go to the grave with you never meeting my in-laws. This was an Alvin Kamara start, which as of a few days ago, I was getting cold feet. I had to have Davis and Pat talk me off the ledge about Alvin Kamara. It seems like we're okay there. Ronald Jones here at running back 22, a little sore subject. Maybe we don't have to get into that. Wow, Paulson has Rex Burkhead at running back 33 for this week. I mean, I guess it makes sense with Damian Harris questionable.
Yeah, I don't know. He wouldn't strike me as someone that we need to add since we've got the running back 22 already.
Some other options down here. Benny Snell is definitely interesting to me, and is Darrell Williams. And just to give you guys a reference, we drafted this team, like we started this July 5th. I mean, we were like, we celebrated our independence, and then we said we're drafting a main event team. That's how this unfolded. Yeah, Darrell Williams is interesting to me, and Benny Snell as well. I think more so than Rex Burkhead. Are those guys on your radar as well?
Very much so. And then you got the Jacksonville backs here because I believe Armstead was drafted, but Ozigbo was not. And I think James Robinson is not. So we could decide if we want to go into that backfield at all.
This is why 4 for 4 pays us the big bucks, so we can do these integrated ad placements right here. What tool lets you do that on 4 for 4? We are using their League Sync tool. So you can go in any leagues that you manage on most of the major sites, ESPN, Yahoo, Fantasy, My Fantasy League, FFPC. You can simply log into your account, and then they will reconcile your teams against John Paulson's rankings and allow you to easily identify the best available at the various positions. Very handy tool when you're in a lot of leagues. I just switched over to the Flex tool to kind of help us get a bigger picture here. Mark Andrews, the other beauty about doing this 4 for 4 league sync is it pulls in the settings without having to manually do it. So you might be like, why is Mark Andrews number 10? Well, this pulls in FFPC 1.5 points per reception for tight end scoring. So I'm just going to scroll down here, make sure we're not missing anything. We're definitely rocking DJ Moore, Mark Andrews, Kamara. We're rocking McLaurin. We're rocking Sutton. We're rocking Jarvis Landry. We're rocking Ronald Jones. Wait, is there any way Rob Gronk is available in this league? Or is this a quirk?
Man, I guess I'll check right now. That seems quirky.
That seems really weird. All right, yeah, pull this up here. I'm logging into our account too. I can already tell like the pace we're going on this.
We're gonna be so far behind. This is so slow. No, I don't see Gronk. I don't see.
Okay, that must be a little quirk here. Let's see here. Just checking in. When Pete wanted Silva and Daigle to draft in the same room, Silva was so serious and Pete was relentless. That's right, man. I knew it. And even Pat knew it. He goes, we need clips, man. We need clips. Pat knew what we were doing.
I knew what you were up to.
Let's see here. Yeah, I don't I mean, I guess I haven't been grinding hard enough, Pat. I mean, I assume Lamar Miller, Sony Michel, and Rex will all kind of be in a timeshare there. Have I missed any nuggets about Rex leading that backfield in week 1?
No, not that I know of. I don't. This seems a little bit optimistic for Rex, but he certainly could. I mean, I'll defer to Paulson on this ranking. I guess my feeling is that I'm not that bullish on Rex full season, so it doesn't hold a ton of interest for me. Right? These are his week 1 ranks, or these are his full season?
These are. I did pull up the week 1 ranks, which just popped up. Yeah,
that makes more sense.
Yeah, and so who do the Pats play here? Maybe Miami. So it does make sense that Paulson's projecting some running back points to be there for them at home versus Miami. Pat, that was supposed to be our Mexico City game. Wow, look at Pat getting just wine.
Literally marrying what? Okay.
Hi, Brittany.
I was trying to avoid the camera. That was.
Yeah, wait, you can't
Brittany
avoid
off screen here.
Yeah, as Pat knows, we're relentless, and we are very perceptive of when someone is in the same room as the camera, as Daigle and Silva know.
She didn't do the bunny ears. That would have been.
Brittany hit him with the bunny ears. I'm scrolling through here some of these dusty-ass wide receivers that we're never adding here, a couple tight ends.
So the guys, I went through, and if you want to, feel free to show that spreadsheet that I shared with you. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I went through kind of at random, just adding names that popped up. And let's see, Bryce Love is available in the first main event.
Okay.
A bunch of quarterbacks, but we don't. I mean, Kirk Cousins, Tyrod Taylor, Teddy Bridgewater, but those guys aren't all that interesting. So I would say the big guys are Darrell Williams, Devin Ozigbo, Benny Snell, James Robinson. DeAndre Washington also available here, but I'm not that interested in him. So I'm deleting these guys. So I think these are the guys.
Yeah, and I did just pull up this spreadsheet Pat has for us. So this gives us a kind of better overview of our starting lineup here, as well as the potential pickups. I do agree. I still feel, the big question about, for this specific waiver run, I definitely don't think we should add a second QB. I think it does become interesting next week. I'm torn, right? Because I want as many running back dart throws as we can get. On the other hand, I do not want to take a 0 with a random late scratch on a Sunday.
Right.
So that's going to be really tricky with the onesie positions. I mean, obviously we have a couple tight ends. That's not an issue there. Obviously defenses, we're good. There's always going to be a defense, but kicker and quarterback, we're going to have to really think that through. I mean, if Young Hoku is out partying at the club on a Friday night and gets corona, I mean, we can't, that's a 0.
Right. Yeah, I think Carson Wentz was dealing with some kind of injury as well.
But let's shelve that for next week. We do have another waiver run before this, so we can continue to kind of stash as many upside plays as we want. So I do think we hone in on Darrell Williams and Benny Snell. I've heard our guy Hassan's been talking about James Robinson. Obviously, Raquel Armstead put on the COVID list for the second time. I'm all my cards on the table. I know literally nothing about James Robinson. I read everything on 4for4 on Rotoviz. Know nothing about James Robinson. Do you, Pat?
I don't know that much about him. I remember him from Dane Brugler's draft guide. He was pretty into him, not like super into him, but he was interesting, and he was a guy that was taken in some of the rookie drafts that I do. Not by me, but other guys took him, and I think it looks pretty sharp, like a pretty sharp pick right now. Probably just as like a bet against Fournette, but. Sean Siegel said that he's kind of into Robinson, but I don't know that much about him. I really don't.
We have Blair Andrews of Rotoviz fame, of extremist ideological drafting fame. How we doing, Blair?
Doing great. I heard you're talking about James Robinson because I spent the last 20 minutes learning all about him.
Okay. Hit us with the cliff notes. This is why we bring you in.
All right. So Robinson, FCS guy, right? So he had like almost 2,000 rushing yards, 74% backfield dominator rating, which is okay. He didn't catch many passes, but the interesting thing is that Illinois State only completed like 8 passes a game while he was there. So maybe that doesn't matter too much, his lack of receiving. But he's pretty interesting. He's kind of, I don't know, you remember D'Angelo Henderson or something?
To me, this backfield does feel like the Miami Dolphins backfield from last year. Blair, obviously, we famously landed on Laird. We were very excited about him because he catches passes. I mean, I think everyone projects this team to be in a lot of negative game scripts. I guess the question is, who in this backfield is most equipped to catch passes?
Well, Chris Thompson, right?
Chris Thompson. So
yeah,
I didn't even mean that as a rhetorical question. I wasn't like being all smug about it. I was asking, and I actually forgot about him genuinely. So maybe, I don't know. I think you could probably sneak James Robinson or whatever for a bid or two. I think on we're right now talking about our first main event team, Blair, but we are going to talk about our quad team. Pat, I think to me the bids are Darrell Williams with a Benny Snell contingency. Who would you be willing in Bryce Love? The question though is there anyone other than Nick Boyle to cut?
Well, our other cut potential is Lynn Bowden, Eno Benjamin, and I mean Darrington Evans, Jerick McKinnon are kind of the other low man guys. There's not a ton of. I don't want to cut any of those guys really. I guess Bowden could be a cut.
Yeah, Blair. Well, this is going to be a topic that's going to come up for a lot of these waivers. How do you reconcile the idea of like, okay, Darrell Williams, not a guy a lot of us were on earlier in this offseason, now by all reports has the number 2 job locked up. How do you reconcile him versus some of these deeper stashes like Bowden and Benjamin who have really maybe more exciting prospect profiles? How are you weighing those?
That's tricky. I guess if you need the production right away, then Darrell Williams makes a lot more sense. And guys like Bowden and Benjamin, might hang around. They might be available next week if you need to pick them up. I was just talking about this with Dave, who I own a Football Guys team with, Dave Cabin, and we're looking at some of these Jaguars guys. Darrell Williams is already owned, but we decided we'd just rather hang on to Bowden and Benjamin than put in any bids for these guys that we're kind of unsure of. But yeah, Darrell Williams is trickier since I need running back production on all of my team pretty much. I
think I do prefer Darrell and Benny Snell So Pat and I talk a lot about like take a peek guys. I think we're going to get more information about Darrell Williams and Benny Snell in week 1 than we will about Lynn Bowden and Eno Benjamin. And to Blair's point too, I think Bowden and Benjamin are guys we can circle back to in week 2 or 3 and get. I just don't really, there is a chance Bowden, right? Like comes out and they use him in a few exciting ways and we're like, shit, but it still seems low probability where Darrell Williams could legit just split the backfield with CEH in week 1. To me, that's a guy we need to put in a fairly aggressive bid for.
I'm with you. I've got a couple bid groups in on that. Go ahead and take a look as maybe we move to the next team. Because we only have about 30 minutes here. So maybe
I like
we can
that.
circle back. But I try not to blow too much of our budget in. So I've got Bowden in as a secondary drop to try to get Snell, but I'm trying not to blow too much of our budget in total. So if we land Darrell Williams as our first guy, we won't be crippled by getting both.
Yep, Pat, I like those bids that you put in. I just checked them out. For the sake of making sure we get to all of this, let's move on here to our second main event team, the team we drafted just like, a week and a half ago. This is our team. I'll get the screen share up here. Our Christian McCaffrey and the very controversial brand-destroying Aaron Jones team. This team still relatively similar in our plays. It's interesting, Pat. I'm seeing here on the cut list, you have Gerald Everett on the cut list, but not Ryan Nall. I do understand that nothing has necessarily changed for Nall, but to me, I'd still rather like a peek at Gerald Everett in this offense more so than Ryan Nall. I might be on an island with that, though.
Well, I guess I'm thinking that, with the whole Fournette thing, the fact that the Bears decided to forego signing him has to be at least, it's pretty bullish for Nall's role in week 1. I don't know how, I guess it comes down to, are we thinking we might start Nall in the next couple weeks? If not, then I'm okay throwing him back. Can people pick up the guy we cut for this? Because I would hate to have to play against him. I think he'll probably, he could score a touchdown or whatever.
But here's the thing for that line of thought, Ryan Nall is a guy where in our true 0 RB builds, when we talked about drafting, it was like, we might need to start him week 1. When we have Christian McCaffrey and Aaron Jones, this is a different build. And I don't think Ryan Nall has an exciting enough of a prospect profile for us to need to take a peek.
That's fair.
Otherwise, though, in this waiver wire isn't as exciting either, right? There's no Bryce Love or Darrell Williams on this one, it looks like.
No, there is not. Let me just double check. Love is not there. Williams is...
Had you seen this report? So Rob Nordo says in the chat, teams are trying to trade for Everett, worth a save, especially if Higbee goes down.
Teams are trying to trade for Everett, and the Rams have apparently turned them down very harshly. They're not interested in trading him.
Wow. I'm not grinding hard enough, guys. I missed that news report.
I saw that at dinner, Pete. Get your notifications on.
Let's see here. So Pat, I'm down to drop Nall. Who of the available guys, I'm pulling up our 4 for 4 here. Let's kick it over to Blair real quick. What we were talking about James Robinson before. Blair, where are you at on Ozigbo?
I'm not that interested in Ozigbo, I guess. It's hard to see him having a role week 1. Well, Chris Thompson is actually healthy, can see him definitely getting into some games later when Thompson inevitably gets hurt. But
are we expecting Thompson to be like a 3-down running back? Someone's going to have a 2-down role, and it won't be Thompson.
Well, will it be Armstead?
Well, no, Armstead just went on the COVID list. So it's one of Robinson or Ozigbo. Again,
I'm not grinding hard enough either.
So I think one of these two guys is...
In that case, I like Robinson better, to be honest.
Okay.
But I'm a sucker for small school guys.
What if again, you grinders, have there been any inclinations or positive buzz about Robinson? Because I've heard some about Ozigbo. I'm just wondering, what are the realistic chances he gets touches week 1?
it looks pretty good that he'll get touches week 1. There's going to be some kind of split between Ozigbo and Robinson on the early downs, and I have no clue exactly how that split's going to work out, but he should be somewhat involved. I think that getting one of those guys between Robinson and Ozigbo for basically like, $1 is pretty good. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on either.
I'm with you too. So from this one, I think our same logic on this bid run, we don't need to add any of these quarterbacks. So do you want to put a couple shekels, a little more on Ozigbo and a contingency bet on Robinson with dropping null?
Yep. I put that in. Let me know what you think.
Yep. The accountant is going in to review it. It checks out. We are good to go here. Let's move on to the quad. We do have Blair here. We're on an email thread with Hassan and Blair. We were hashing this out. Squad looks pretty damn sexy, minus our RB1, but that was the thesis behind the play. Blair, talk us through what we're looking at here with this squad and week 1 needs.
Well, I mean, week 1 needs are obviously running back. This is the same sort of position I'm in with
every single league.
Yeah, right. But specifically where I think Ito Smith is a clear drop to get Darrell or Bryce Love. Probably Darrell is a little bit higher. But then, I'm having a little more trouble figuring out who is the drop at running back, because I think we want to go after both.
It's Ito
Darrell
Smith.
Williams and Bryce Love.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So this is the similar situation where, to me, it's like you make a play for Darrell Williams with the Ito Smith drop. If you miss out on Darrell, then obviously Love is the contingency bid there. And then the question comes down to Bowden, Benjamin, Snell versus Bryce Love, right?
And I think the drop's Bowden.
Yeah. Although, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I feel like as far as week 1, I feel like it's more likely that Eno Benjamin has 0 touches than Lynn Bowden. I feel like it's more likely we would get to see Lynn Bowden touch the ball a couple of times. Am I wrong there?
No, you're not wrong. I think that's right. My thing on Eno is that I think it looks like the Cardinals are just going to keep 3 backs. And so he just has that contingent value upside that's a little harder for me to see with Bowden. But, I'm open to changing my mind.
I guess the question for Eno to me, if Kenyon Drake was fully healthy, I would be like, all right, let's toss him back. The fact that there's still a little ambiguity around Kenyon Drake's health definitely makes Eno a little more intriguing to me.
We have a comment here from Backup HL. So Robinson may not make the 53.
They're thinking
we've been outgrinded.
But here's the thing: was this report, because then he says they're thinking Armstead, Ozigbo, Thompson, fullback Bruce Miller. But was this before Armstead was put on COVID? I mean, that's a pretty big news nugget that impacts that, right?
I'm going to the Athletic. Shit, I just got paywalled. I think I'm signed in under your account, Pete. No. I'm going to the Athletic and seeing what they think.
Just hit me with the first 2 sentences. I'll tell you what that whole story is going to say, brother.
All right, running backs. They say, I'll let you know. I'll read it and let you know.
So real quick, Blair, break our tie on how you feel about Eno or Lynn Bowden versus Bryce Love, or how you rank those guys.
I mean, I have Love above both of them, but I think that I'm struggling with the same thing you are about Bowden versus Benjamin. I mean, you can definitely see Bowden, like, will he probably get some special teams touches, like some return work? If he breaks off a long return, maybe he becomes a popular ad, even though, if people are expecting, it'll mean more in-game touches or offensive touches. But yeah, like you said, I mean, with Drake not fully healthy, maybe Benjamin does have a bigger role than we're thinking in week 1.
It's close. It's really
who do you
close.
think is more likely to still be on the waiver wire in week 2?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's my issue is I think Bowden has a better chance to flash in week 1. I think Eno has a more realistic path to like fucking league winner smash if something breaks his way.
Yeah.
Right. I think that Eno is probably easier to add in most outcomes after week 1.
Yeah.
But the outcomes where you're regretting not having Eno are like far more damaging to your soul.
Exactly.
Right. Like if Drake gets hurt in week 1, then Benjamin probably becomes pretty expensive.
So this is actually, we should just consider this real quick. Chris G says drop Evans. Yeah, the only problem with that is on this 0 RB build, in the first few weeks, we are going to need some points. And Swift is banged up. Darrell Henderson is banged up. Darrington Evans, I think, should catch a couple of balls out of the gate. And we might need that these first few weeks. So I think under that thought process, I think Lynn Bowden is the cut if we don't think he's going to start for us and give us a couple of those points that Evans might get. Whereas Darrell Williams legitimately might be a start for us in week 1, and Bryce Love could be a start for us in week 2. And I don't necessarily see that from Bowden. So to me, I would prioritize Love over Bowden while stashing Eno is kind of where I'm arriving at.
Yeah, and I think that sorry, but I just don't think there's any case for cutting Evans. Evans is going to be the running back 2 in Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah,
and we're very quiet camp. I don't think he'll push Henry for a significant role, but I mean, if you want to talk about contingent value and a guy that we could be like absolutely vomiting all over the place for having cut, I mean, if Henry goes down for even 2 weeks, Evans is like one of the best starters that we could have in a 0 running back build.
Poor man's Kamara too.
Yeah, Peter King.
There you go. Okay, Blair, any final thoughts on quad bids here as we move along?
No, just that I am coming around on dropping Bowden too. I think the news has been more negative on him than on Benjamin recently. So
yeah, and it doesn't help when they bring in Riddick too. I mean, because we're trying to tell ourselves like, could Bowden be the guy that catches a few balls out of the gate, and they keep bringing in these pass catchers. It sounds like he might be more of a project. I do have as we transition.
I am changing the other bids just to prioritize Ozigbo a little bit more.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I agree with the real Berg here. Deion Lewis caught 60 passes in 2018. Got to keep Evans. I mean, there's no one. I mean, I'm as big of a grinder as you guys will find. I can't name the third running back on the Titans. Can anyone here?
It's Blasingame and McNichols is the fourth guy. Yeah,
oh, man.
It's already Blasingame.
Yeah, but he's really the third.
Normally in my athletic articles, it just says Henry and Evans, and then it kind of cuts off. So I just haven't really got that far down the draft. We do have our fellow quad bro here. Eno has been turning heads in camp and is going to be one of the 3 RBs. To me, that sounds like Hassan is saying, do not fucking drop Eno Benjamin.
Yeah, the tough thing, and Hassan, we've talked about this, there really aren't any Arizona beat writers. And so it's very hard to get a sense of who's doing well in Cardinals camp. But Hassan is the grinder among grinders.
He's a grinder's grinder.
And has been searching out nuggets on the Arizona training camp. And so I would really trust what he has to say on Eno here.
He also literally owns an equity stake in this team. So he has a voice. Let's see here. I did just get an email from Sean Siegel for our other robust OG team says, if you guys are recording, I'm going to go in and change the bids. Smiley face. Do we have any interest in Malcolm Brown?
Oh, Malcolm Brown. That's an interesting one. Maybe we should add him as a contingent bid on the other ones because he could have a week 1 role.
Yeah. I normally would have just dismissed that, but the fact that Henderson's banged up and they drop John Kelly, I mean, Malcolm Brown's going to get 10 touches week 1.
Yeah, it's gross and it's thin, but I feel like as just a backup bid to the main bid, we should probably
wasn't it week 1 last year where Malcolm Brown had the 2 touchdowns? It was like week 1 or 2, right?
I believe it was week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're set on the quad, Blair, unless anything else we're missing there. We got 18 more minutes.
Check the bids on the quad because I'm over in the mains. I don't even remember what I put in.
Oh yeah, you're right. I
I
am.
don't have access to it.
All right, I'll circle back then.
Okay. Let's talk. We didn't really touch base with Davis about ship taking here. Similar thing. We got Love, Ozigbo. I think Armstead's probably now a cut candidate, right? I mean, I think all three of these, we have a lot of cuts here, or potential cuts.
Well, we drafted with Davis, so that makes sense.
You know, this was the draft. I legitimately, guys, it's not a coincidence.
This team's pretty good. I like it.
The team is good. I do not remember any of these picks. I mean, I was just absolutely 3 sheets to the wind because I can't imagine a sober Peter being like, yeah, let's take Anthony McFarland.
Remember, this was the draft where we were like, let's just get both Steelers running backs and bet against Connor. And actually that paid off like very nicely because Snell took the job.
Yeah.
Took the backup job.
Real quick thing, FF engineer Kevin, quick question. Devonta Freeman is droppable, right? Drafted early, assuming he'd sign. Yeah. I mean, we just can't be making speculation ads right now when we got guys like Bryce Love on the waiver. So, I don't know, Pat. I think I'm good making bids for both Love and Ozigbo dropping McFarland, Thompson, or Armstead.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, I guess we could. I'd say of those three, maybe keep Darwin as just like a take a peek and see how they are kind of wanting to operate behind CEH. If Washington's a near cut candidate, could be interesting to see if Darwin has a little bit of a role. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because Raquel could even be a take a peek guy if he comes off the COVID list before week 1. I mean, we're still 8 days away from week 1. I guess I'm a little bit torn on who the cut is.
So Willis made a good suggestion that I'm doing here in the spreadsheet right now. I'm moving Antonio Gibson over Ronald Jones as our starter.
That actually fucks up the spreadsheet to do that.
It fucks up the spreadsheet?
Yeah,
How?
it literally does. It pulls in, if you scroll over to the right, it pulls in ETR's rankings. And so you just move people around like that. You have to do it to copy it.
Okay.
You can't cut, Pete.
All right. Well, you know what? Do you know who? Never mind. Okay. All right. Are we good on this one?
No, I haven't put in any bids, and I'm not sure what bids I should put in.
I think you should put in bids. I mean, Armstead's a cut. I mean, right? He's gonna be out for how long? Can one of the grinders let me know how long he's gonna be out?
He's on the COVID list, so it's anyone's guess.
I was just reading this article from someplace, Bloomington Pantograph, that said was before he went on. I know that.
Is that a paywall or no?
The Bloomington Banana Flower.
I don't know. It does sound fake, but it came out before he was on the COVID list, I think, and it was suggesting that he was behind Ozigbo and Robinson anyway. He was going to be the backup.
All right, we'll cut him then. We'll cut.
Gotta trust the Bloomington Pantograph. They never get anything wrong.
That can't be the name of it. What are you? All right. So who we like? Love is the premium ad here.
Yeah.
All right.
I of this list, Love and Ozigbo I definitely prefer over all three of those other guys. And like I said, I lean toward taking a little peek at Darwin Thompson.
All right. And then let's see, Malcolm Brown available here? No, he's not.
All right.
You want to try to get 2 of these guys? Or should we just drop Armstead?
I'm okay dropping McFarland.
Okay. I'll put in another claim for Ozigbo dropping McFarland. Would you rather have James Robinson than McFarland?
I don't have an opinion on that.
Okay.
Rob Nordo says Armstead might get cut once off the Rona list. All right.
He was running as a backup to an undrafted free agent. That certainly makes sense.
I found out Bloomington is Illinois State, so it's like a James Robinson homer paper, just for what that's worth.
I'm gonna message Sean and tell him he has permission to change any bids in this draft.
Sean can straight up put in the bids and we can move on with our lives.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Sean, you have carte blanche to make any necessary moves. I love you. What are you wearing? Yes. And then he was wondering if there's another waiver run next week. Yes, there's another waiver run on Wednesday. Also, what are you wearing? Okay. All right, let's Sean will take care of that. Heading down to Kentucky. Look at this.
The haters drop for this, Pete, when we head down to Kentucky. I feel like this is a good little addition to the show.
What is
like a little banjo as we head down to Kentucky?
Yeah, and down to Kentucky.
You need a little video.
This is like such a fun. I feel like I've been drunk for every draft we've done. So now looking at these teams, I'm like, oh yeah, we do have Josh Allen as a quarterback on one of our teams.
It is. Listen. This is. I'm not kidding. If you want to diversify your portfolio a little bit more than you naturally would, just drink for all of your drafts and draft with your buddies, and you will find out that you drafted Josh Allen when you didn't realize you did.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you were talking to yourself there about diversifying, Pat, because that really hasn't been in your vocabulary when we draft.
Well, this is hilarious because I would like to take this aside because I heard you slander me on your podcast with Adam, which was very fun randomizer pod you did. But
I slandered you? It just comes so naturally, I don't even remember it.
Yeah, you slandered me a little bit because you said I had this massive exposure to Ronald Jones, and the truth is, while I do like Ronald Jones and I try to get massive exposure to him, he kind of got away from me a little bit with the price, and I wasn't able to get, by the time I was drafting heavily, I wasn't able to get him on as many of my teams as I actually wanted. And the guy that I do have just ridiculous exposure to in the high leverage rounds is Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
And then I have some of my late round dart throws like Miles Boykin I have ridiculous exposure to. So I am overexposed in certain ways, but it's actually not on the guy you might think.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that mea culpa. We're still waiting for the apology, but that'll do for now. All right.
You're not getting an apology, Pete.
I'm
very excited for your apology in November.
I have nothing to apologize for. When you have no specific player evaluation takes and you just preach structural drafting, you can wiggle your way out of anything.
I have text from you when LaShawn McCoy was signed about how I needed to move off Rojo.
Okay. So, yeah. It sounds like I was pretty sharp there.
Yeah, you were ahead of the game.
Let's see here. Okay. In Kentucky, wow, another team with Ronald Jones as an RB2. You hate to see it. Cutlass, man, I want to hear Blair's take on this. DeAndre Washington, I know it was a guy I was excited to be drafting in late July. It seems like he was being undervalued relative to his backup role to CEH, very similar to him as a prospect, finished the season very strong last year with the Raiders. Blair, how are you handling this kind of very bizarre preseason for DeAndre Washington?
Yeah, it's very weird. He, I don't know. I have him on a few of my early teams, and then when the news started to go against him, I stopped drafting him. And now, what's the latest? He's not even going to make the 53-man roster. So,
floated, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even, I guess maybe they were thinking if CEH didn't work out, they would have this other guy who would do the exact same thing as he did. But I guess CH has looked really good, so they don't need him. That's one theory. I don't know.
Pat, how are you feeling about is DeAndre Washington fully dead to you, or what do you think?
No, he's not fully dead to me. I think he's still more interesting to me than Darwin. And there's not really anyone that interesting on waivers here, so I would be okay if we just kind of didn't make any moves. But DeAndre Washington, he never really seemed to press for the job. And I don't know if that's just because of the shortened off season or what, but there was the time that we realized we needed to move off of DeAndre Washington, who we got excited about once Damian had opted out of the season, we realized we needed to move off him because we just heard nothing about him in camp. Just nothing. And you were hearing about Darrell Williams, but never hearing anything about DeAndre Washington. So it's all I know is that he didn't make an impression, and I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, it's really bizarre, and I think I heard Davis say this too, and it's a good point. Like, if we had preseason, we'd immediately be able to see what the team was telling us based on where these guys were playing in preseason. We just don't have that. And I wanted to kind of put my head in the sand about this DeAndre Washington thing early because I had been drafting him, in the 13th, 14th round of all those drafts. But every single report from any beat reporter or anyone close to the situation says like he's just a non-factor and that it's Darrell Williams, pretty clear. And on top of that, I haven't heard much about Darwin Thompson either. So we also know that the team has kind of hinted that they're not going to give, CEH 25 touches out of the gate. So that really just points us screamingly toward Darrell Williams and kind of de-emphasizing DeAndre Washington. But to your point, Pat, because we don't have an obvious cut here, and I would still prefer to cut Ito Smith over DeAndre Washington. And I don't even see anyone, though, to add, although I don't have the league sync for KFFSC. I'll try to tab through here as well.
Yeah, do we have Ito Smith? Oh, we do have Ito Smith. Okay, so I need to change this bid. I kind of missed that. Okay.
There is Malcolm Brown is available in KFFSC, Pat.
And Brian Hill is also available. He's someone that I would. What do you think about Hill versus Malcolm Brown?
Go for it, Blair.
I think I prefer Malcolm Brown just because of how banged up the guys ahead of him are. There's some good reports on Quadri Olison too. So I don't think it's exactly clear who the backup in Atlanta is going to be.
Pat,
Ito.
Pat, I'll also say too, just looking at the waiver here, I wouldn't mind if we don't love these options. I wouldn't mind dropping Ito Smith for Drew Lock. I mean, we have Cortland Sutton on this team. Josh Allen still does feel like a volatile option, a guy that could get hurt if he's running the ball a ton. I don't hate that, but I don't need to do that necessarily.
I like that. I mean, I think we're looking at pretty cheap running back options, and maybe we can get Lock for real cheap here.
All right, I got a dispatch from Sean for the OG. He says, I put in for Ozigbo, Robinson, and Brown, dropping Washington and Bowden. I don't know if that will be remotely competitive, but I don't know how many people are already dissatisfied and or know there's a waiver run tonight. I'm okay to go higher if anyone feels strongly about any of the guys. We might end up wanting to dump them again next week to add QB options. He put his bid numbers in the group, which we were going to, here's the thing, guys. I saw some of you asking for exact bid numbers. This is what we're going to do for this show. I mean, if we tell you our exact bid numbers, there are people in our leagues watching this. I mean, we can literally just get cucked week after week after week. Yeah. We are already sharing our process with you more than any single person in a high stakes league. So we are going to be relatively ambiguous about the exact amounts. We are still going to be very transparent about the guys we're targeting, the guys we're dropping, even relative percentages, but we are not going to give you the exact number. We have to draw the line somewhere. So there is the table setting for how these waiver wire shows are going to go.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 0 and 1,000 on everyone.
Somewhere between. What?
It's an interesting point about people not realizing that there is going to be a run tonight. I think what I will say is my initial feeling on where we needed to be to get Darrell Williams was probably too high, because I think maybe there's going to be in a lot of leagues people who would have put in a really aggressive bid for him that thought they could wait till next week.
Yeah. That is the question of, has it, I guess, like obviously in grinder circles in people with athletic subs, there's been some nuggets about Darrell Williams. I don't know if I've heard the drumbeat about Darrell Williams, right? Does that exist? A Darrell Williams drumbeat?
I feel like we're manning the drums. Like we're the ones banging the drums. We literally had a podcast where we called him the mentor and shared it on Twitter. I mean, we are the drumbeat, Pete.
Hey, the drumbeat is coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. That said, like if we view this in a vacuum, I do not mind. I will not be pissed if I win Darrell Williams and I go $50 or $60 over what was needed, I guess is what I'll say, because we're talking about the handcuff to a rookie running back in the best offense in football. I mean, that role is immensely valued. It should probably be like a 10th or 11th pick, sight unseen, if his role is what we think it is.
Yeah.
The other thing, I don't know if Kentucky does this, but in FFPC, you can decide whether you're going to start Darrell after the Thursday game, right?
Great point.
So that gives him even a little bit extra value.
I believe that is only main event teams, right? Or am I wrong on that? Is that football guys teams as well?
No, you are right, Pete. It's that if you draft after, you can decide whether or not to start him. But we have to decide whether or not to start him now.
No, in the
main
FFPC,
event,
I think you do. But in the main event, even if you draft before, I think you still can.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong.
Hang on.
We've never drafted before.
After.
Neo says it's all FFPC because
okay.
I knew for sure it was main event. So even with the football guys, you get to decide retroactively after the Thursday night game. That's pretty nice. So
I'm gonna check the rules now.
To me, that pushes me over the edge of like going from being even with market to being even more aggressive. Yep. Chris says all of them as well.
All right. So we need to maybe bump up the bid slightly.
I'm okay bumping. Like I liked the first bid you put in, but I don't even mind going another like 10% on top, 10 or 15% more on what you already did.
Maybe that's a reason not to drop DeAndre Washington too, in case he doesn't get cut. I don't know.
That's a good point as well. If we do think there's a little ambiguity in this backfield, and to Blair's point, we'll still, if he makes the team, obviously we're like, okay, this might be a little more muddled than we previously thought. If he gets cut, then it's like, we'll see you later on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I like that line of thought of holding Washington through the roster cut line tomorrow at 4 Eastern.
We have you a
0 minutes.
Yeah, everyone is letting us know we have 1 minute. So in Pat, I trust over here, his new internet just taking care of all of this for us.
All right, I just saved it. We'll see if it accepts that one.
Tell us, we can talk freely now about what was the numbers you put in.
We'll run through the quad first. I put in 252 for Darrell Williams. I put in 110 for Bryce Love. I put in $3 for James Robinson, $3 for Rex Burkhead, $1 for Devin Ozigbo. I think those bids maybe are old. I should have updated them. $51 for Bryce Love with Lynn Bowden as a contingent bid. So we could get both Darrell Williams and Bryce Love for like $300 total. I meant to bump Robinson down and Ozigbo up, but I think I only did that in the main event. Moving over to the main event, this is the first main event. I put in Darrell Williams at 252, Snell at 111, Bryce Love at 110, Devin Ozigbo at 16, Robinson at 3, Malcolm Brown at 1, and then Snell as a contingent bid with Lynn Bowden. I did not get in Love as a contingent bid for Lynn Bowden, which was my mistake.
No, it's all good.
Let me see if I can do it. We're gonna have to start a little earlier. Let's see.
We do. We'll get our process logged. I like this is how low expectations I had for this. I feel like this was just a smash success. I feel like we just nailed it. Neo says he put in his 237 for Williams. So if we're gonna use our line of thought in Neo's, I think we're in the ballpark there without overpaying too much. And again, Oh, go ahead.
No, this comment by Chris G, I think he's right.
Yeah, they don't process till Wednesday on the main event.
What the hell is
going
on?
Don't say what.
But wait, but the football guys processed on Friday tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's fine. I mean,
Well,
we're
gonna off all of our bids like a donkey.
it's all right. We're gonna adjust them.
So change your bids now.
I'm gonna put in the randomizer wheel a bunch of numbers between 1 and 300, and we will randomize our bids before next
really
week.
Gonna cut this out, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. It will not be on audio.
This is the thing about having thousands of dollars in play in high stakes leagues is you don't actually have to know when the waivers process. Sometimes you can just go live on air because you're incapable of making any fantasy decisions without streaming it and just kind of jump out of the plane and build the parachute as you plummet to the ground is kind of how we do things.
Also, Josh says that we won't know who we got until after 3 a.m. So this could be by far our longest stream.
Yeah. You know, I might, be at my in-laws, but I'm going to tell Lauren she kind of has to sleep out on the couch out there, and we're kind of doing a marathon stream here. Blair said he's going to play 4 hours of acoustic guitar to help kind of keep us awake.
To Benny Snell. This is, by the way, I want to just share the beer I'm drinking here.
A little bright. We can't see the car.
A little bright. Oh,
okay. That's how. That's when you start watching your Rojo film. You turn that one off. I do want to point out this little micro beer here on Cape Cod, Cerveza Tecate. Great local beer. Hint of lime, just absolutely delicious.
Can you guys see this now?
I mean, it looks like some hipster ass beer.
Liquid Sorcery by Sloop. It's been a Sloop week, man. It's been a Sloop week.
I'll tell you what, it sure has been a Sloop week, Blair. Let's see here. Are we signing up for a 60-round best ball draft now? No. Blair, are you done drafting for the season?
I don't know. Probably not.
DraftKings now has a desktop, apparently. I was just told today.
Well, that is a game changer.
DraftKings is so fucking soft. The drafts over there are wild.
Well, let me tell you my thing about DraftKings Best Ball. I log in and I'm like, this is soft as shit, dude. I'm just getting every player I want. I like tab over to 2 tabs. I get timed out to Darius Geis. And it's like, if you can't spot the sucker at the table, maybe you are the sucker. Maybe it's soft because of people like me coming in and getting timed out.
Dude, the biggest edge in fantasy football right now is starting a DraftKings Best Ball draft at 1:30 at night, because literally by the end of the draft, every single person but you is auto drafting. Everyone has fallen asleep. It's all auto drafts.
Do you know what I think happens when we see, like, I retweeted Andy today, Dusty Rush. He was in one where Antonio Gibson went in, I believe it was the first or second round. And my guess, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are people who now think Antonio Gibson is a first round pick, but my guess is people go in, they set their queue, they scroll through some sleepers, they they fave them, and then they're like me, and they just go to one other tab for, God forbid, 4 seconds and not get a notification. Next thing you know, you got the top star in your queue, Antonio Gibson. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah. That happens.
Let's see here. I wanted to show, someone asked, here, let me see. Anyone fans of Heady Topper? I'm glad you
had Heady Topper. It's supposed to be amazing.
I have actually had it here. I actually went.
He's not the person to ask about it, though.
Yeah, so I actually got tossed out of there for asking if they have anything that tastes like Coors Light. If you ever want to know how to trigger the beer heads, I got ratioed out of existence here.
Ratioed. You can get ratioed by a person in real life.
No. This is my post.
Okay.
The people were pissed. I mean, people think I the best beer on the planet, and that's how I did them dirty. I mean, I went there and it honestly, I was just like, you guys didn't have anything with kind of a crisp lime flavor? I mean, trying to triangulate. They're like, yeah, what are your favorite beers? It's like Coors Light, Tecate, Modelo. You got anything in that range?
I did tell Pete after one of our podcasts recently that if you do have Pete taste buds for beer, Asahi is an excellent, very kind of crisp light beer. So I can't recommend ever drinking any of the Coors, Bud, Miller beers. if you're going to do that, I think Asahi's your best bet.
I like this take from this guy. That's horrible. They could have just pissed in a glass and handed it to you. He was so bad. Nothing like lying on the internet. Okay. Wow. I've never done this 3-wide portrait mode.
Yeah.
It's kind of intimate.
Please change it.
It's so funny you say this because I was doing we were using this I showed my boss at my day job because we were doing this for some stuff, and I was demoing it for her, and I went to this mode, and she got so mad at me. She had the exact reaction you did, Pat. She was like, take it off. Like, whatever you just did, change it back. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
This is so much better.
I'm so sorry.
It's strange because I feel like you're seeing more of me, but also less. I don't know. It's just like it's not so in my face. I don't like this at all.
Look at Pat just taking a nice close-up sip. It's really nice. Blair, how are you?
Just aren't flattering for all of us that hang out in basements all day, you know.
Yeah. Blair, you put out a couple recent articles of late. What have you been in the lab writing about?
I've been writing about a lot of drafts that I've been doing, like the one I did with Sean, the main event.
Talk to us about that one. That one was
if possible.
Yeah, can I pull up the board on that one? Is that in the article?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. You start talking about it, and I'll pull it up because it was a very interesting draft that I, of course,
right.
Loved.
Yeah, that one was kind of unintentionally like a really extreme 0 running back draft, which, you know, I say unintentionally, but of course, when I'm in a draft with Sean and we got the 12th pick, we have to do something crazy. So, we went 10 rounds without a running back, which is what I was trying to get you guys to do in the quad. Finally got to do it. Bryce Love has our RB1, which now it doesn't look so good. I think we took Keyshawn Vaughn in the 12th.
Blair,
which also doesn't look great.
Were you worried you weren't going to get enough running backs after taking Justin Tucker in the 13th?
We actually did take Harrison Butker in the 16th. So you think I don't know if I convinced Sean to do something stupid on that one, but he was on board. So
I was just gonna ask if Sean pushed back on that at all.
No. In fact, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but we got to like the 16th round. And we were looking, and Sean was like, "What do you think about going kicker here?" And I'm like, "I love it. Finally,
I love it.
We have to do it." So yeah.
Is it? Was it the article "When and How to Draft Running Backs in Extreme 0 RB Builds"? Is that the one?
Yeah, that has the full board.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, we'll pull it up here. And this one. So one of the reasons, and I guess time will tell, that I loved our quad managed draft so much is because I truly believed we were just annihilating everyone at every position, including quarterback and tight end. We grabbed Kyler Murray, George Kittle, along with our sick wide receivers. Now in this draft, you guys kind of got squeezed out of one of those top tight ends here. So you guys started Julio, Hopkins, AJ Brown, Ridley, Diggs, Fuller, and you did get Watson. You never had a crack at one of those tight ends unless you wanted to take Hopkins over Andrews, which feels way too rich.
Yeah, we had talked about taking Andrews. I mean, we kind of discussed it a little, but we thought there was a chance Ertz would get back to us. But you kind of know if you don't get Kittle in the first round, when you're that late and you're at the 12 spot, then you kind of are stuck going with the Hawkinson Fant Gesicki tier, or maybe not.
I like
Gesicki,
how you played it, though. I do. I would have played it the same way and tried to get Ertz at the end of the third.
Yeah,
because we took Andrews in at the 208.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm certainly comfortable taking him in the second, but the 201's a little early.
Yeah,
especially because Ertz really could have come back to you, and then to get Hawkins fan. I like it.
I like that too, because if you do miss out on it, you want to take 2 good stabs at a tight end that has upside for a top 6 season, and Hawkinson and Fant are the two guys that really check that box in that range. So I love that double tap there. How much were you fighting for Hardman, and then of course he falls to you there in the 10th?
I didn't have to fight for Hardman that much with Sean, of course. Was lucky that he fell there in the 10th. Although when we got to that spot, we were debating Hardman versus Carry-On. And, I think we had...
Were you lobbying at all for Hardman at 801, or you just knew you had to get Hawkinson there?
No, we knew we had to go with Hawkinson. I actually was lobbying for Hawkinson at 7 and then Fant at 8, but it was nice to get that Houston stack. They're also playing on Thursday night, so that's a good you can wait to see whether Fuller and Watson have a blow-up game. Although so this is probably going to start them anyway.
This is a good question from Big Papa Stein. Is Hopkins Hill a coin flip for you, Blair? I know Sean is very high on Hopkins relative to the market. Hopkins Hill, in my opinion, is very close as well. What are your thoughts?
I think that's pretty close. I'm actually never getting Hill on any of my teams, and that's just I don't know. I have him lower than him. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, he's a good talent, and I'm not going to criticize people who have him on their team. He's just not somebody I draft, but I think you can definitely make a case for Hill there. Yeah.
I'm the same way as you. I definitely have teams where I have Hill on, but I always break ties against him as well. It is an interesting thing. I think Hopkins has been kind of a divisive guy. I mean, Silva, of course, with his famous words in his shy away list saying that anyone who has Hopkins in their top 5 wide receivers has a bad process. Silva's obviously pointing to the macro trends there of guys changing teams, worried about kind of the massive volume that he got in Houston transferring over. I definitely side on the side of thinking he is firmly in the top 5 just based on his talent and what we can expect from this Arizona offense. But it is interesting. I mean, in underdog drafts, you can sometimes get him at 3-1, 3-2. People are worried about him.
I got him in underdog draft at 302 yesterday because Kittle and Kelsey came back. Anyway, so I got him at 302, but the thing that with Hopkins that jumps out to me is that the upside is probably a little underappreciated because if Murray has this huge breakout season, then Hopkins could absolutely smash. I think the floor is what is scaring people off, and I think rightly so. I think his floor is pretty low, a lot lower than you would think given the name brand value, but in the main event and with a build where you guys are taking a lot of swings at wide receiver, I don't mind it.
Yeah. I think it was between, we were considering Andrews there, but it was just felt way too early for him. I think Godwin is somebody I like even that early. I've taken Godwin in the first before in some drafts. So he's in consideration for me at that point. But I do have a lot of exposure to him elsewhere, obviously. So I think it felt good to get some Hopkins exposure in case, I also have him a little bit lower than maybe than you, Pete, probably than a lot of people, but Sean's obviously very high on him. And, with that offense being as fast as it is and, with Kirk and Kyler, you'd expect Hopkins' efficiency to actually improve. So there are, as you say, a lot of the ceiling is pretty high. So.
And I think people are still kind of yes, this is the air raid. The concept of you're not forcing the ball, you're spreading it around. All 4 of those vertical options are in play, and yet we still saw Larry Fitzgerald was commanding 9 to 10 targets for much of last season. So if you're out on Hopkins, you're basically assuming that Fitzgerald is going to continue to command that kind of target share that's really diminishing DeAndre Hopkins targets, where to me it's just clear Hopkins comes in as that clear alpha and is getting that same amount of targets. And it might not be the 12 to 13 type of targets he got in Houston, but the efficiency and the pace of this offense in the way they're going to be able to move the ball downfield, teams are going to have to account for the running game. to me, Hopkins is going to more than make up for the lack of volume with efficiency.
Here's the thing, though, because we talked about how Evan Silva doesn't like Hopkins. We were in a draft with Evan Silva on Wednesday. We took Michael Thomas over the big dog, Derrick Henry. You guys took Hopkins over the big dog. I would love to get Silva's reaction to that particular pick. I can't imagine what he would feel about that.
Yeah, that would be fun to hear.
I mean,
yeah, Henry did not even enter our minds at that point.
The thing is people, we do get anchored to ADPs. So, you think like, oh, well, Derrick Henry's supposed to go 1.5, 1.6. That's where he goes in every draft. If you're out on that cohort in general, which we are, right? We are trying to, if we're either drafting a bell cow we think is going to reliably catch passes, or we're going to punt that position for a long time. I mean, even Sean did put out the article where he was looking at the combination of talent and pass catching chops for these early running backs. And when you get to the second round, there's only a few of them that check both of those boxes. It's Miles Sanders, it's Austin Eckler, it is Aaron Jones, but Derrick Henry does not check both of those boxes. He has the talent, but he's not catching passes. So to defend Blair and Sean here, they are not making player evaluation decisions here at everything. They're making bets on this cohort of running backs who are being overdrafted because they don't catch passes.
Yeah, and actually, we went 0 RB, obviously, but we had been almost committed to taking a running back if one of Dalvin Cook or Sanders or Edwards-Helaire actually fell at 112. We were, well, maybe not committed, but we would definitely have taken one of those guys and then gone Julio probably at 1-2.
Yeah.
Who was the first running back here?
You can't see it in this photo.
Can't see a running back.
Blair,
no, you got to scroll down.
I got to get logged in.
I do like, Blair, that you
come on, Blair.
You put the running backs past the paywall. That's pretty great.
Oh my goodness! As this gets loaded up, tell people the first running back here.
The first running back, Sean's boy, Bryce Love.
Okay.
RB1. Yeah, you got to go all the way to the bottom for the full board.
Oh my goodness! I thought we did a 0 running back team.
Yeah, and Bryce Love. I mean, it was so funny to me. I was talking with a few people today about how Bryce Love versus Adrian Peterson was the ultimate litmus test of how you view and think about fantasy football. It's like, well, Adrian Peterson, he crushed down the stretch last year. I mean, Adrian Peterson, he's gonna be there. It's like, oh, we can't touch Bryce Love. I mean, he's buried. And it's if you bet on talent and you want to fade the over the hill dusty ass running back, then you make a bet on Bryce Love, and that's how this one shook out. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes LaShawn McCoy sticks around on the roster and is a pain in your ass, or Frank Gore, but score this one for the metrics.
Yes, hopefully. I mean, the news that came out maybe a week ago, was making it look pretty bad for our first two picks, and it still kind of looks bad for Keyshawn Vaughn, our first two running back picks, but we were able to get the Darrell Williams lottery in the 19th round, so
that's big. That's big.
Hopefully we can pull something out.
Yeah. I actually want to do this once more because people say, people continue to be just repulsed by true 0 RB builds like this. They can't fathom it. And I want to just give them just our one piece of, tangible evidence from a team we drafted last year. And I want Pat and Blair to help me piece together the details of this team we drafted, a 0 RB team last year, the first original quad, where we punted QB, we punted tight end, we punted running back. We drafted like 8 wide receivers in the first 10 rounds. We made our championship game. I mean, the point here, guys, is if you are crushing people at the 2 flex spots week in and week out and through the buys and through injuries and through attrition and just buy yourself a little bit of time, you can win leagues. Like, I don't know why this concept is so hard for people to understand, but they can't wrap their heads around it.
Is there a way to... Oh, I can actually pull this up because I
think we drafted Gerald Everett, I think, and then we cut him before he broke out. We might have drafted Brian Hill and cut him before he broke out.
Yeah.
So we even made a lot of bad moves in that.
Yeah, we made a bunch of really bad moves. We had Tyler Higbee and cut him.
Yeah.
We made some terrible moves in that draft. But we still finished second.
We whiffed on our
wide receiver.
We had Juju Smith-Schuster as was he our first or second round pick?
I think he was first.
He was our first round pick. We even whiffed on that.
Yeah, because we had Michael Thomas in the second round, right?
Yeah. If I G-chat this to you, will you be able to?
Or just share your screen. You can share your screen with me on the, or you can G-chat it to me.
Yeah, I don't think I have access to it. That's the draft board.
Yeah. I guess the continuous thing I want to preach, guys, is you can win your league even if your team screenshot can't win Twitter praise. I promise you. You don't need to draft a team that everyone looks at on Twitter and goes, "Oh, that's so good. Look at your running back 1 and running back 2. Oh my goodness, Jamison Crowder as your wide receiver 3. He's going to get 1 million targets this year."
The other thing is that this team doesn't look good now.
No, it never looked
good. No, but it looks like a team that would have finished last now.
We had literally every possible thing go wrong for that team, and we were one start sit away from shipping the league.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I wanted to get more true 0 RB teams under our belt here. I'm pulling it up here.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. We will see. I mean, last year again was an atrocious year for 0 RB. All right, do you see it on the screen now? I need to go screen share. Here we go.
There we go. We are out of the 11 hole. Drafted Juju Smith-Schuster, total bust. But we got Michael Thomas, who had a historic wide receiver season. I think that's – so Sean had an article where you're saying if you're struggling with your running back, maybe you're not taking enough wide receivers. And I think this team goes to that point of we took a bunch of stabs at wide receiver, and several of them were busts or were hurt, like Will Fuller. But in the mix, and Brandon Cooks, total bust. But in that mix, we have guy Calvin Ridley down the stretch who was awesome. And obviously Michael Thomas. Who
he got hurt too, though.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Tyler Boyd was a fixture in our lineup last year. It also, I think, speaks to, we've talked about the profile of wide receivers you add, and when you're taking big cuts, we're probably taking big cuts on like Amari Cooper, Cooks, Ridley, and then you add in a volume play like Tyler Boyd. We take a big cut at Will Fuller, who obviously won us a couple of weeks last year. So it just goes to show what you can do with wide receiver firepower. Sean wrote his article too about, you're not drafting enough wide receivers, and how he likes to think of it as you draft 6 guys who can be top 24 wide receivers, because one of those is accounting for bye weeks and one of those is accounting for injuries or just general volatility of guys not panning out. So when people get freaked out about 0 RB, it's not draft 4 running backs and then stop drafting them. It's like, no, we are making a bet on us not being good prognosticators and us not being able to predict injuries. So we need to make sure we are hammering people regardless of what happens, which is why when you guys laugh at us of like, why is Blair making us draft McCole Hardman as our 11th? Well, it's like when one of these guys busts, like Juju Smith-Schuster, or someone gets hurt, we all look at our teams and we're like, that we nailed it. How could anything go wrong? No, shit is going to go wrong. And when it does, we need to be able to put McCole Hardman in our flex when he goes for 45 points.
Yeah, we're going to load up at the highest scoring position.
I'm seeing a lot of the comments here asking about which team won and the CMC team. I'm pretty sure the CMC team did not make the playoffs.
The CMC
team did
not make the playoffs. Nope.
And I want to say that team 3 won.
Team 3, I believe that is right. I believe that.
I can check that.
This draft, I want to say we did this in early August last year. Does that sound right to you guys? It wasn't super early and it wasn't super late.
I think that's about right. The number 1 seed was team 6.
August 7th.
The number 2 seed was Team 12, and the number 4 seed was Team 3. So the Christian McCaffrey team did not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because
that's saying something for this guy who, he went 5 running backs through 6 rounds.
When you take Christian McCaffrey number 1 and you come back and you get 4 more running backs in the top 6 rounds, what you have said to your team is Christian McCaffrey is going to bust. It doesn't make sense from a construction perspective. Christian McCaffrey is the number 1 overall player to you in fantasy. You don't trust him enough to draft wide receivers after that. That's how you miss the playoffs when you get a historic season from the running back position.
To Pat's point, you're locking in Christian McCaffrey, and then you're saying we're going to have all of these guys cycling through, and you're going to go against our Michael Thomas and Amari Cooper with Golden Tate and Tyrell Williams. It does not matter if you have LaDainian Tomlinson as your RB1. We will fucking crush you in the flex. I mean, you want to see the reason of why robust RB is the donkeyest ass, dumbest fucking strategy I've ever seen? Look at Team 1 right here. Look at Team 1.
Now, one thing worth pointing out
is nuts. He got the fucking nuts, and he missed the playoffs.
Yeah. Like, Christian McCaffrey wasn't even a consensus pick there, so he made a smart pick at 101. And still messed it up. Just, I want to point out, look at who, the team that won, Team 3, look who they took in the 15th round. Just saying.
15th round. God damn it. God damn it, Blair.
There you go. I will say,
you win.
No, to Blair's point, I mean, when you look at the probability hits of the skill position players in that range relative to the kind of points you're going to get from someone in your starting lineup, I can see that argument, and I probably fall in love with the late round targets more so than I should relative to how much they pay off.
I have a counter here, though, because, one of the things that Sean Siegel talks about is we play this game to have fun. And I didn't play this game to draft Justin fucking Tucker in the 15th round. I play this game to think that I'm going to hit the next league winner in the 15th round, okay? If you're drafting Justin Tucker, you're admitting that you basically have no chance of drafting anyone valuable there. And I don't want to do that.
But let's see if we were proven correctly. So our 13th round pick, Darwin Thompson, 14th, Jalen Richard, 15th, Gerald Everett, who we cut, 16th, Brian Hill, 17th, Jamal
Williams, who really helped
Williams us. Williams was our best running back, probably.
Yeah. We started like 9 or 12 weeks.
Yeah, he was a huge part of our team, a huge part of our playoff push.
Hassan has logged in. The team that drafted James White started some waiver wire scrub over from the league championship and lost by 12 points. James White scored 35. Hassan never forgets. He never forgets.
I don't know how you remember that.
All right. I do need to wrap this up. But it was fun to circle back. And again, it shows you the thing from the number 1 hole is you look at this team when you draft it, and in your head, you are projecting all of this volume. That's what you're doing. But we are so bad and so wrong at predicting this volume. And the funny thing is like Fournette and Ingram actually had useful seasons, but it doesn't matter when you're getting crushed by wide receivers there week in and week out. So this is a cautionary tale. Guys, any final words of wisdom here before we wrap things up?
There was a comment back here that I was going to try to answer, and I lost it. So I guess not.
Well, it's good. Blair, any final words?
No.
Hans Michael asked about James Conner, about why people are high on him all of a sudden. And
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too into Conner because to me it's pretty obvious. Like, he caught a lot of passes and he has a season under his belt of over 20 points per game. And they say he's going to be the workhorse back there. But I wanted to bring it up for the point of Benny Snell, which has been one of Sean Siegel's sharpest takes this offseason, and a guy that I was like totally off of, and Sean has been kind of talking me into mostly just by reading his work. But the reason I think that Snell is such a great pick now, having locked up and such a great ad now, having locked up the number 2 spot in Pittsburgh, is that there are very few teams where if the guy were to go down the running back behind him would be a workhorse. And I think that Pittsburgh really is one of those teams where I think Connor coming off this season where he didn't look that great, and going right back into a workhorse role, that Snell now having caught a lot of passes in camp and looking much better in that regard than he did last year. I think Profiles is kind of an old school handcuff type, like one of the last handcuffs in the sense of we thought about them in 2008.
Yep. I definitely agree there. As far as scheduling, we'll obviously be back Wednesday. And I think we're going to end up sneaking another draft in here. I've had too much fun drafting this season to let go of it.
After Thursday, man, let's get one in.
Yeah, we're going to get one in.
What would you think of getting like 2 more people on here doing a 6-person draft?
Blair, I love it.
I was trying to think of how this would work. We could each take a turn making a pick, and we'd each get like 3 picks throughout the draft, and then plus kicker and defense.
We're structure, man. If we were value scooping, fine, but we got to come to consensus on the structural build here.
Yeah. Don't worry. We are going to have weekly waiver shows during the season. But yeah, we got to squeeze in one more draft here. Thank you to Blair for hopping on. I think Pat and I both definitely want to make this a staple for our waiver wire shows of bringing people on that we are managing teams with. It's a good dynamic. So good luck to you guys getting your bids in. Hopefully they clear for you, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks as always for tuning in to Ship Chasing. Peace out, guys.